Your Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Rwanda, Honorable Ministers, Governor of the National Bank of Rwanda, development partners, distinguished guests, all protocols observed, and welcome to Day 1 of the Financial Alliance for Women's Annual Summit 2025. We are very excited and delighted to have you all here with us today, and we are especially proud to host this year's summit for the very first time on African soil here in Kigali, Rwanda. Kigali, Rwanda is a city that is recognized globally for its innovation, for its resilience, and its bold commitment to gender-inclusive growth. My name is Naringwa Fiona Motoni. I'm very delighted to be your host for today. Over the next 2 days, we will witness powerful conversations, strategic commitments, and bold ideas, all geared towards unlocking financial opportunities for women and strengthening ecosystems that support women entrepreneurs across Rwanda, Africa, and globally. We will begin this landmark event with a powerful lineup of voices and leaders who are shaping inclusive finance at the national and global levels.
Your Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Rwanda, honorable ministers, deputy governors of central banks, board members and CEO of the Financial Alliance for Women, CEO of the Access to Finance Rwanda, chairperson and CEO of Rwanda's Private Sector Federation, CEOs and MDs of our financial institutions, representatives of African central banks and the World Bank Group, development partners, distinguished guests. It is both an honor and privilege to welcome you to the 2025 Financial Alliance for Women Annual Summit. And to our distinguished international guests, welcome to Rwanda, the country of 1,000 hills and 14 million smiles. We gather at a moment when the world is redefining resilience. This year's theme, Accelerating Enabling Entrepreneurial Ecosystems, could not be more timely nor more vital. Here in Rwanda, we continue to believe with clarity and conviction that gender equity is not just a social good. It is a strategic imperative. It is the foundation of a thriving economy and a more inclusive future. Your Excellency First Lady, we are extremely honored by your presence here today. It's a testimony to your unwavering support to the economic empowerment of women and girls in Rwanda, but also in Africa, and we thank you immensely. This summit in Kigali started as an idea. In September last year, CEO Ines Morey visited Rwanda for only 1 day to meet with the Central Bank and Access to Finance Rwanda. She introduced the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code to us, but we asked, how come Rwanda is not among the countries where you're piloting it? A few calls and meetings later, here we are, hosting the Financial Alliance for Women Summit for the first time in Africa. And this shows the power of partnerships and Rwanda's commitment to inclusive finance. And over the past decade, Rwanda has achieved near universal access to financial services. Indeed, according to the FinScope survey of 2024, 92% of Rwandan adults own a bank account or a mobile money wallet, and that's a financial inclusion rate that places us among the most financially included societies globally. But access alone, as we all know, is not enough. The true test is in quality, equity, and meaningful usage of financial services. A few statistics to illustrate this. Only 1 in 3 Rwandan adults actively use bank services. And the gender gap, both in access and usage, remains real. Only 8% of women have access to bank loans compared to 13% of men, highlighting a 5 percentage points gender gap in access to formal credit. And for too many women entrepreneurs, access to capital is still a daily struggle. And this is not just a Rwandan story, it's a global reality. According to the World Bank estimates, closing the global gender gap in entrepreneurship could unlock up to $6 trillion in economic value. And here in Rwanda, if we look at that proportion, we could potentially add $700 million to our GDP, translating into more jobs, stronger families, and measurable economic gains. And so our responsibility as regulators is not only to preserve financial stability, but to ensure that the financial system serves the real economy and all its people. Recent analysis from the National Establishment Census in 2023 shows that while micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises in Rwanda represent more than 99% of all businesses, they only receive 14% of all total loans. And when we look at women-owned small and medium-sized enterprises, they only get 25% of that 14%. And that gap is not due to lack of potential. It is due to a lack of tailored financial solutions, to historical bias, and insufficient data. Rwanda has now a unique opportunity to establish a system capable of collecting granular, gender-desegregated data, leveraging technology and subtext solutions. Your Excellency First Lady, distinguished guests, today we mark a new chapter with the launch of the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code. This code is more than a symbolic gesture. It is a blueprint for systemic reform, a framework that brings together leadership, data, and action to transform how financial institutions serve women entrepreneurs. It calls on institutions to mobilize targeted capital, to innovate in product design, to track and report gender-desegregated data, and to embed gender diversity into the fabric of policy and practice. In essence, it moves us from intention to implementation. We are proud as Rwanda to join 28 countries and 9 global partners in this initiative, but what makes Rwanda's approach unique is the breadth and depth of collaboration behind it. The code is endorsed by the Ministry of Trade and Industry as policymaker, the National Bank of Rwanda as regulator, 11 banks, and the Association of Microfinance Institutions as financial actors, and Access to Finance Rwanda as ecosystem coordinator. Your Excellency First Lady, allow me to emphasize that your presence reflects Rwanda's high-level commitment to inclusivity. And it reminds us that leadership begins not with policy, but with principled conviction. And as I conclude, let me also extend our sincere gratitude to the World Bank, the implementing partner of Rwanda Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code project. Your technical and strategic support has been indispensable in making this moment possible. And to our co-hosts, the Financial Alliance for Women and Access to Finance Rwanda, we thank you for your tireless efforts. To the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the Rwanda Bankers Association, the Association of Microfinance Institutions in Rwanda, and the 11 banks signing the We Finance Code today, we thank you for your commitment. Together, we are building more than a financial code, we are building a future of equity and innovation. Last but not least, our deep gratitude goes to the international guests who traveled from 59 countries to be here in Rwanda for the 2025 Financial Alliance for Women Summit. Let this annual summit be a turning point, an inspiring and productive summit. Let it align capital with purpose. Let it mobilize systems, not just statements. And at the National Bank of Rwanda, we are committed to working with you all toward a future where every woman entrepreneur, every micro, small, and medium-sized enterprise has the tools, the resources, and the confidence to thrive. I thank you all. Murakoze cyane.
Thank you so much, Governor Soraya. She has painted a clear picture of where we are and why we need to move with urgency. Let's give her another round of applause and appreciate the warm remarks. And indeed, that's why the conversation here today is very crucial. When we close the gender gap, we strengthen the very backbone of our economies and unlock their full potential. We're now honored to welcome to the stage Inez Murray, the CEO of the Financial Alliance for Women. Let's give a round of applause.
Your Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Rwanda, Honourable Ministers, Governor of the National Bank of Rwanda, distinguished CEOs, development partners, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great privilege to welcome you to the 2025 Annual Summit of the Financial Alliance for Women, held here in Kigali under the transformative theme, Accelerating Enabling Entrepreneurial Ecosystems. We are deeply honoured by the presence of Her Excellency, the First Lady. Your unwavering commitment to inclusive governance, gender equality, and economic transformation continues to inspire both your country, the African continent, and the world. Thank you for being with us today. This conference convenes at a critical time. Across Africa, women are stepping forward to start and scale businesses, lead institutions, and innovate for the future. Yet in far too many cases, the systems around them have not kept pace with their ambition. So what does a truly enabling entrepreneurial ecosystem look like for women entrepreneurs? A strong entrepreneurial ecosystem fosters innovation, reduces barriers, and provides entrepreneurs, especially women, with what they need to start, grow, and sustain businesses. It requires access to finance, from debt, from bank loans, microfinance institutions, equity from angel investors to venture capital, efficient capital markets, and in particular, that public debt does not crowd out private debt, as we see in so many economies, stifling support for SMEs. It requires public financing, grants and subsidies, and it requires gender-sensitive, responsive financial initiatives such as the We Finance Code that we're here to launch this morning. Beyond finance, it requires an enabling policy and regulatory environment, including supportive legal frameworks, easy business registration and licensing processes, tax incentives, firm intellectual property rights, and an analysis of all the above to ensure that they are gender inclusive. It requires societal attitudes that rewards failure and risk-taking, changing social attitudes around gender norms and expectations. It requires role models so that women and girls can see themselves as successful in business. Above all, perhaps, it requires investment in human capital and talent, quality education, vocational and entrepreneurial training, mentorship networks, and programs tailored for women and youth. It requires access to markets, including public and private sector supplier diversity programs that include women. It requires support services such as incubators, accelerators, and innovation hubs. It requires networks and connections, peer-to-peer mentoring, industry associations, business chambers, and vitally, business women's networks. Finally and fundamentally, it requires leadership and coordination at the national level. Champions in the government, in anchor institutions such as banks and universities, and ecosystem builders such as Access to Finance Rwanda. It requires multi-stakeholder collaboration and accountability mechanisms. That is what the We Finance Code is about. At its core, the code is a voluntary pledge that financial services providers make to help close the persistent financing gaps that women entrepreneurs face. Institutions that sign the code commit to concrete action in 3 areas: appointing a senior executive to champion the organization's support of women entrepreneurs, tracking and reporting annually on financing provided to women entrepreneurs, improving transparency and building accountability, scaling up and introducing innovative financial and non-financial services to better serve women-owned businesses. This code, being launched here this morning, is part of a global movement to ensure women entrepreneurs are no longer on the margin of finance, but at the center of inclusive growth. The Financial Alliance for Women is a proud global signatory to the Code and works in close partnership with the Women Entrepreneurship's Finance Initiative to support its implementation. Our 100 members around the world are leading Code signatories and champions if they are present in countries where it is being introduced, because they already have strong programs to support women entrepreneurs. They understand that there is a strong business case for supporting them. Our members report performance data on an annual basis, and we have seen, for example, that women pay their loans back at greater rates than men in all loan categories across 8 years that they've been reporting. We have seen that annual average products per customer reaches parity between men and women 2 years after a member has introduced a deliberate, holistic strategy to support women. One that includes not just access to finance, but to timely and relevant information, financial and business education, to networking and recognition, often in the form of awards, to showcase successful role models. We have seen a 12% compound annual growth rate in our members' business lending to women, compared to a 4% compound annual growth rate in their consumer lending between 2020 and 2023. We also know that if you bank a woman entrepreneur, you are banking her other life moments' needs, her children's education, the family's health care, and the roof over her head. We ask with all humility that those banks in the room who have not yet joined our network to consider doing so, to look at our website, find the business case, the case studies, and join our unique global community of practitioners who will support you to do this well. As a network, we are deeply honoured that the National Bank of Rwanda chose our summit to mark the official launch of the WeFinance Code in Rwanda. This morning we will hear from national code champions, their aspirations for how the code will work in Rwanda, and we will hear the experiences of countries that are further along in their code journey. We hope that you will be inspired. We extend our heartfelt thanks to our summit hosts, the National Bank of Rwanda, Access to Finance Rwanda, for their leadership and partnership in putting this event together and for hosting us. We are also deeply grateful to our supporting organizations, the International Finance Corporation, ABSA Bank, INM Bank, the World Bank, and the Women Entrepreneurship Finance Initiative Secretariat for their invaluable support in making this gathering possible. We thank our many guests from Rwanda, from across Africa, and from overseas. As we open this conference, let us do so with ambition, clarity, and urgency. Rwanda is the right place to lead this conversation, and this continent is the right place to drive global change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Inez, for the breakdown of what the WeFinance Code is. Let's appreciate her one more time. And she has also given a call to action. For this to be achieved, collaboration, partnerships are crucial, and she has openly called for more partners here within the room to also come in, join in, and let's drive this forward. We're now going to continue and just get to know more about the WeFinance Code Rwanda. We will start by watching a short video that will tell us more about this ambitious ecosystem-wide commitment to advance financial equality and unlock capital for women entrepreneurs.
Around the world, women entrepreneurs face systemic barriers to accessing finance, from lack of collateral and credit history to limited, tailored financial products. Over 400 million women have the potential to drive global growth, yet they remain underserved, contributing to a $1.7 trillion financing gap. This is not just a missed opportunity for women. It's an overlooked chance for shared prosperity, innovation, and inclusive development. In Rwanda, women-owned lead about 40% of MSMEs, yet receive only 25% of MSME lending. Similar barriers like limited financial literacy, lack of inclusive products, and lack of collateral hold back not only just women, but Rwanda's broader economic potential, where innovation, job creation, and inclusive growth depend on equal opportunity and access. To address these persistent challenges, Rwanda is proud to join the WeFinance Code, a bold global commitment launched by WeFi at the 2023 World Bank IMF meetings. The code brings together governments, regulators, development partners, and financial service providers around a shared mission: to unlock financing for women entrepreneurs through leadership to drive change, action to design tailored solutions, data to track progress and impact. This aligns with Rwanda's Vision 2050 and NST2 to build a competitive, inclusive economy. We commit to increasing access to finance for women-led MSMEs, designing inclusive products, and using data to inform decisions. According to Finscope 2024, Rwanda has made remarkable progress, with 90% of women now formally financially included. This success is driven by strong policies, enabling legal and regulatory framework, and digital tools, among others. The National Bank of Rwanda monitors women's financial inclusion via tools like the Electronic Data Warehouse and Financial Inclusion Dashboard. We thank our partners and call on stakeholders to join us to unlock new markets, promote gender equality, and fuel innovation. Let's finance her dreams. Let's finance her future.
Your Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Rwanda, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. I will be presenting to you the Rwanda We Finance Code signatories. We will first attest to the signatures of financial institutions endorsing the code, and today 11 commercial banks are committing to increasing the volume of funding provided to women-owned and women-led SMEs, increase the number of women entrepreneurs achieving sustainable growth and profitability, and enhance availability of quality data at a national level for evidence-based policies. And today, signing the Rwanda We Finance Code is the Development Bank of Rwanda, the Bank of Kigali, Equity Bank, I&M Bank, EcoBank, BPR Rwanda, Access Bank, GT Bank, Bank of Africa, NCBA Bank, and Zigama CSS. Join me in congratulating the CEOs as they perform the signing ceremony now. The next category of signatories constitute the Rwanda We Finance Code members, council members, who will ensure a strong cross-industry support for the code, ensure the policy enablers are availed, as well as aggregate and disseminate national data in a coordinated approach. The council members that are signing are the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry, the Honorable Governor of the National Bank of Rwanda, the first Vice Chairperson of the Rwanda Bankers Association Board, the Executive Director of the Association of Microfinance Institutions in Rwanda, and the CEO of Access to Finance Rwanda. Rwanda We Finance Council members, another round of applause as they finalize the signing ceremony. This is indeed an important commitment made. I will now kindly request the council members that just signed to join the stage with their pledges to firm up this commitment with a handshake and for us to mark this moment with a photo. So Honorable Minister, Governor, CEO Diane, and Idi Amin, as well as the CEO of Access to Finance Rwanda, please join the stage with your pledges. We'll mark this moment with a photo. This indeed is the result of a long-term collaboration that is being formed and that will continue to yield results for women economic empowerment. Let's also have the 11 commercial banks that have signed join in a picture. The CEOs of all commercial banks that have signed today their pledges, please join in this group photo. They will also be joined by the Deputy Governor of the National Bank of Rwanda, the CEO of the Financial Alliance for Women, CEO Inez, please join the group photo, the head of the WIFI Secretariat at the World Bank. We will also be very honored to have our guest honor join this photo to mark this moment. Your Excellency, you're welcome.
Thank you all. And this is just the beginning. Now imagine what will be happening in the next 2 days. We are really stepping into a space of bold action and real transformation. We have already witnessed the 11 commercial banks that have committed to increasing the financing that goes to women. That is not just a promise. It is a powerful shift in how we build inclusive economies. To all women entrepreneurs here in the room, I hope you are ready to tap into these opportunities. I hope you're ready to grow your businesses, uplift your communities, and drive progress here on the continent. Let's appreciate one more time the We Finance codes. Thank you. It is now my distinct honor and delight to invite our guest of honor to the stage. Her Excellency is a steadfast champion for the empowerment of women and girls, not only here in Rwanda, but across the continent. And through her leadership, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to education,
Thank you. Please. Honorable ministers, women entrepreneurs and financial sector experts, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and for those joining us from abroad, welcome to Kigali. I'm pleased to be here with you today. Congratulations on the official launch of the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code. These signatures have provided us with a solid foundation for this inclusive economy that we are building today. I applaud you. Dear guests, I do not see this code as just a policy. I see the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code as proof in action that the conversation around women's economic power is no longer a peripheral one, but one that is at the epicenter of building resilient, inclusive economies. The theme of this summit, accelerating and enabling entrepreneurial ecosystems, could not be more pertinent because it is undeniable. Entrepreneurship is the bedrock of economic growth, and economic growth for us is not an option. Rwanda aims to become a middle-income country by 2035 and a high-income nation by 2050. And achieving this vision requires expanding the tax base, including by transitioning more people with appropriate support from the informal and formal sector. A strong private sector is also key, especially in export-driving industries where women are at the forefront, like agriculture, which makes up 25% of our GDP. So yes, for us, investing in entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs, is the logical choice. One cannot overstate the contradictions the financial world has normalized. We talk about building sustainable economies, about resilience in the face of global shocks. Yet, global policies often seem to lock out the majority of women from accessing finance. How sustainable can any system be when it systematically underfunds half of the population? How strange that despite the overwhelming evidence, we still find ourselves debating whether investing in women is good business. Yet, women are routinely praised for their capabilities. Women are often celebrated for their ability to multitask, to be perceptive and attentive, to nurture the potential of all those around them, to juggle paid and unpaid work, to carry life, preserve it, nurture it, and enrich it. So how are women at a global scale simultaneously cast out as unworthy of financial investment? These women with their remarkable capabilities and significant social responsibilities are the very least as qualified and as deserving as men when it comes to managing resources and developing profitable solutions for human challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, Is it perhaps no coincidence that as we speak, here in Rwanda, the majority of our banks are headed by women? It's now 5 out of 11. Or that the governor of our central bank is a woman. Or our state minister of finance is a woman. I urge these competent, inspiring women to remain their sisters keepers in our journey to financial equity. As far as gender mainstreaming is concerned, having a forward-thinking government truly appears to have had its benefits after all. When given the opportunities and means of fulfilling their potential, women can and do excel in every core field of our economy. Let's unleash the power of data-driven decision-making to track our progress and fine-tune our strategies to achieve equitable investment. Honorable guests, Rwanda has tried to chart a path grounded in the understanding that women's financial inclusion is not charity, and it's certainly not a favor. It's a matter of economic survival, national resilience, and global competitiveness. But above all, it's the absolute right of every Rwandan woman. We are happy to state that between the years of 20 and 2024, the formal financial inclusion of women rose from 74% to 90%. We look forward to what I believe is a day not too far ahead when we can report the inclusion to have reached the only acceptable final number, which is 100%. Indeed, as Rwandans, many of us have known the pain of exclusion. So as part of our determination to see social cohesion, we have embraced social justice, fairness, and equity as fundamentals. Every one of us is worthy of being included in national efforts for progress. The latest integrated household living conditions survey has attested that we have made some headway in reducing the wealth gap. It's been tried and proven that we cannot combat the injustice of extreme wealth disparity, a silent killer, unless we are willing to provide end-to-end mentorship, financial literacy, training, and access to financing for women entrepreneurs. With intentional backing, investing in women is not only a safe bet, it is a revolutionary one. Let us ensure that, yes, the housewife's basket, or panier de la ménagère, as it's said in French, is full indeed. But what about their passes, their accounts, or that of their businesses? Let us help them build grow their savings and social safety net. Let us help these women to build and grow their savings to ensure their autonomy. As the world celebrates entrepreneurial innovation, as we dream of new frontiers in technology, climate resilience, and even space exploration, let us pause and question why we have not fully utilized the resources we already have. Why have we not built systems that empower everyone to contribute and to benefit? And why would anybody still be disputing that inequity is a thorn in the side of any civilization's true quest for population welfare and progress? Because here is the truth. As an international community that shares issues of financial insecurity and resource scarcity, the future we all desire requires us to move fast together to render women's financial inclusion a reality and an intentional, systematic practice. Honorable guests, in closing, I want to express my sincere gratitude to the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the National Bank of Rwanda, Access to Finance Rwanda, the Financial Alliance for Women, and the 11 commercial banks that have officially endorsed the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code. Your leadership is not just commendable, but necessary. So let us leave here today not only inspired, but determined to build financial systems that empower women. Let us be bold enough to hold ourselves accountable for the change we promise and to ensure that the next generation inherits an economy where we remain, when no woman is left behind. Because when we invest in women, we are not just investing in fairness or equity, we are investing in a stronger economy, we are investing in a more innovative and resilient world. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is an investment on which none of us can lose. Let's rock the boat and make some waves before the future, because the future is also female and indeed ever promising. I thank you for your kind attention and wish us all a solid outcome from this pivotal meeting.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Such powerful words. I feel challenged, I feel inspired and really ready to take action. Your Excellency, we are especially grateful for your candid acknowledgement of the contradiction that continues to exist globally. Your words have reminded us that this exclusion is not only unjust, but it's also economically unsustainable. Thank you for also highlighting the progress that Rwanda has made in bridging the gender gap through intentional policies, inclusive financial initiatives, and a national commitment to equity. Your leadership continues to inspire us all to push further, act boldly, and ensure that no woman is left behind. The only acceptable number is 100%. That's what I'm taking from this conference today. Let us all rock the boat. Let us all not settle. Now we are going to transition and have a panel discussion where we will dive deeper from the conversations we've had our distinguished speakers who have really set the pace for today and tomorrow. The panel discussion, we're going to explore further how code countries are bringing the We Finance Code to life and what we are learning about building entrepreneurial ecosystems that work for women. Please, one by one, with a warm round of applause, help me welcome our moderator and also panelists for this discussion. We are going to have Jean Bosco Iachu, the CEO of Access to Finance Rwanda. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes. He will be joined by Tony Weiss, Financial Sector Specialist, World Bank Africa Gender Innovation Lab. You're welcome, sir. We have Dr. Diane Karusisi, the CEO of Bank of Kigali, Rwanda. You're welcome. We have Piche Kametasa Inzoga, CEO, Development Bank, Rwanda. You're welcome. We also have Valence Chimenyi, the Executive Director, Financial Sector Development and Conduct, National Bank of Rwanda. Over to our moderator, Jean Bosco Iachu.
Thank you very much, Fiona, for the warm introduction. It's really a delight and extreme honor to have you, Your Excellency, First Lady, being with us for this first session of this summit. It once again shows commitment to this cause and your unwavering support. So as you can see, we have a wonderful panel of practitioners and champions, I would say national champions, including Tony, who is managing the We Finance Code here in Rwanda, together with the Central Bank. And it's quite a well-balanced panel to really give the full view of what we intend to do in addressing the gap that has been highlighted. As you have heard from the different speeches, we know the constraints, we know the challenges. I think we should dwell more on how we address them. And those that have been highlighted really are more or less actually what is excluding women entrepreneurs from the financial ecosystem. So this wonderful panel has been working really hard. And I must say that though we are signing, I have been watching what they are doing, And I think they are already on that path to address the gap. So I want to start with, and that's really great news, that we have national champions that are determined to support us in addressing the gap. And they have been kind enough to come and share what they have been doing. And I'll start with my first question, which goes to all of them. And as you can see, Tony is bringing the development partners perspective, while Diane brings, the financial service industry perspective. We also development bank from Pichet that is really supporting the sector to empower women and support their ventures. And then we have the regulator that is working on the rules to ensure that we have a conducive environment. So you can see how this panel will be very much exciting. So my first question, and I'll start with Tony. Why is the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code strategic for your organization, the World Bank, to endorse it and support it? And what role does your organization intend to play going forward?
Thank you so much, Iachu. If you indulge me, let me maybe start by saying congratulations first to the National Bank of Rwanda, to all the We Finance Code signatories on the launch of the Rwanda We Finance Code today. It's a big moment, I think. It certainly is a big moment for those of us who have worked for the better part of a year now towards this day and towards this launch. And I really don't think that we could have asked for a more magnificent setting than today, and for more distinguished guests. So thank you so much, Ines from Financial Alliance for Women, and your team. Thank you so much as well to AFR for making this all possible and for hosting us. As Governor Soraya already mentioned, the World Bank is the implementing partner of the Rwanda We Finance Code and the WeFi initiative more broadly. And so over the past year or so, we've been working very closely with Valens and his team, and many of you here, to get ready for this launch today. You asked why this is strategic for us as the World Bank, and I think there are two answers to that. The first one, I think, is the one that we all share in this room. It's the fact that investing in women makes business sense, right? We know that when women entrepreneurs thrive, they grow the economy, they hire more women, they invest in their families. And so if you look at World Bank strategies, like our new World Bank gender strategy, you'll see that there's a target in there, an ambitious target, I would say, to provide access to capital to an additional 80 million women and women-owned firms by 2030. And so I think that the code gives us a bit of a structure to work towards these objectives with the champions at the top and the data to show us where the opportunities are, and then the commitment to act on these opportunities. But I think there's a second reason as well, and that's a very important one, and especially in the context of Rwanda here. And that's because we think that Rwanda should get credit and should get visibility for championing this cause and for being ahead of the curve in a lot of ways. I know that gender disaggregated data is not a new topic for Valens and his team. I know that financing women MSMEs is not a new topic for Bank of Kigali, not a new topic for BRD. It's certainly not a new topic for the World Bank in our engagement in the financial sector here. And so, joining this global community that is here today of practitioners in women's financial inclusion, I think it gives Rwanda an opportunity to learn from the world, but just as much it gives the world an opportunity to learn from Rwanda. And I think that's really important. To close maybe on our role, as I mentioned, we're the implementing partner. We've been working with BNR in convening partners, thinking through the We Finance Code framework here in Rwanda, thinking through some of the definitions that go into it, onboarding signatories and so on. And we'll continue that work in the time to come, both with BNR, where we've been supporting their efforts to get a gender disaggregated understanding of MSME finance in the country, and for the first time we're able to have statistics on that, but also training code signatories on how to collect and report data under this new framework. And most importantly, we will see as the World Bank Group how our own financing instruments can increase access to capital for women and de-risk lending. But I think that's a really important topic and one that I hope I can come back to in a minute. So for now, congratulations again to all the signatories. Let the real work begin, and as the First Lady so aptly said, let's try and make some waves.
Good, thank you very much. Yeah. Yes, Pichet, what is your view of this very strategic move?
Your Excellency, Ministers, all protocol observed. So as a development bank, and in Rwanda we have one development bank, our role is really to implement the policy of government. So I think the governor and the First Lady set the tone in terms of what is the policy framework. And the way to think of the development, the role of the Development Bank of Rwanda, BRD, is twofold. One, there are some priority areas for government that are key and that need to be developed faster than others. And the sectors in Rwanda are manufacturing, housing, exports, green finance, digital economy, and education. And these are the sectors that are expected to grow faster than any other sector. And therefore, our role is to raise resources and develop products that enable these sectors in the private sector to grow faster than others. And then the second role is the one that I'd like to discuss a little bit more today, is how do we as a development bank influence the ecosystem? How do we incentivize the rest of the financial sector to actually change some of the financial habits or some of the decision-making that are happening in the boardroom? And we have many tools to do that. One of the tools is financial incentives. So in normal language, it's cheap loans. We give longer-term loans. And we also give capacity building, especially for microfinance institutions and SACCOs. Now, the way we look at this role is really not so much how do we help women access the table, but rather how do we have deep conversations about how we change the table so that it becomes a fair table for women. And what does that mean in the financial sector? What it means in the financial sector is that we are not trying to help women access existing products. We're trying to design products that respond to the need of women. And this is very different. If you design a support with the mind of making women fit a table that wasn't designed for them, you'll design it completely differently from trying to find solutions to women's problems. In a previous life, I used to work at the Ministry of Finance, and luckily none of the CEOs of the banks back then are CEOs today, so we can all have some distance from what happened back then. But I remember having a conversation with CEOs of the banks back then and wondering, what do we need to do to increase financial inclusion? And at the time, financial inclusion was 50%. And there was a long list of things that the population had to do for them to be financially included. Fast forward, MTN and Airtel and Tigo came, and they found clients. And today, we are at 90 plus, almost 100%, as mentioned by the previous speakers, because the product that was developed was fitting the needs of the population. So there are two ways to look at it, and we really want to drive conversations, whether it's the banks, whether it's the microfinance institutions, whether it's the SACCOs, whether it is ourselves internally as BRD, to look at, how do we grow the portfolio? The truth is, many times, financial institutions grow their loan portfolios based on networks, informal networks. You get information because you know somebody who accessed a loan in a particular way. How do we expand these networks to women? How do we incentivize our staff to expand these networks to women? How do we look at risk? How do we look at collateral? How do we look at women's appetite to apply? Now, women at the moment, and I like the point by the First Lady, are the majority as CEOs, and I think it's key for us to play our role in changing the table. And we must also remember that the face of branch managers is still predominantly male. So there's work to do to make sure that the face of finance at all levels becomes a face that reflects gender equality. Now, my two final points is, one, around digital literacy. Rwanda is digitizing at a very fast rate. And when we look at access to finance, a lot of the access to finance in the future is going to be based on digital products. Hopefully, this is what we're all pushing for. But we must be very careful about how we drive this along with access to smart devices and digital literacy. Otherwise, the gap between access to finance for men and women risks to grow even wider. If we look today, there's a 12% gap in smartphone ownership between men and women. So as we think about access to finance, we also have to think about the digital divide and how do we partner with other institutions to close the digital divide. And my last point is around leading by example. I think as financial institutions, we're client-facing, and what we sign today is very important because it is how we're going to serve our clients, our female clients, but we also need to look inward. And I'm glad that now, as female CEOs of the financial sector, we're now all participating in Women in Finance Foundation Rwanda. And the aim of this foundation is really to look inward and say, can we, in our own institution, reflect the change that we want to see in our society? Do we have family-friendly policies within our financial institutions? Do we have daycare within our financial institutions? Do we have a leave policy that reflects gender equality? So we also shouldn't be hypocrites and talk about how we serve outward without looking at the changes that also have to happen inward within our own institutions. And I'm very proud that at least at BRD we've done a lot of lead work to make sure that we can lead the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. Diane, over to you.
Your Excellency and everyone. I think it's a pivotal moment for many of us, and I can speak for my fellow CEOs who are with us this morning. All of us have been trying to do something about access to finance for women, and all our micro strategies have not really made things change at the pace we want and at the pace that is actually fair for women in Rwanda. And why I think this is really pivotal is that change does not happen when one person or one individual tries to change. But this access to finance, to meaningful financial services for women is an ecosystem play. So it's absolutely critical that all of us work together. And that's why I really like this setup, having all CEOs, having the regulator on the panel, having access to finance Rwanda, having women entrepreneurs here in the room, I think really makes this moment pivotal because we are able to work together. And I really believe that the pace of change can be much faster when people work together because we've seen that. We all are doing something, but the change that we want to see is not yet to be seen. Providing access to finance to women, as everyone said, is the right thing to do because it's good for business. And I'll give you an example. We ran a statistical test because, as Pichet said, she has a previous life in policy making in finance. I have a previous life in statistics. So we ran a test looking at our portfolio and trying to associate default, credit default, and gender. And it's not surprising because there's overwhelming evidence that women are better creditors than men. And the test was positive, overwhelmingly positive. And my question to my colleagues was, good, now we have evidence that women are better clients when it comes to repaying loans than men. How about now creating new products and being more flexible when we provide loans to women? But people were not excited. Again, I really believe that innovating alone is difficult, but when we see things happening across the industry, I believe things will change faster. And the argument of my colleagues was, yeah, we did the test, but this was on retail loans, on individual loans. When it comes to women entrepreneurs, it's not the same. Of course, there's always an excuse, as to why we're not doing the right thing. And I feel the third pillar of the We Finance Code, collecting data, is going to be critical. Because today, in my portfolio, and mind you, Bank of Kigali is the largest bank in Rwanda, we don't have enough data to do the same statistical tests for women in business because the sample is just too small. So we are not really able to show the evidence that from our micro perspective of Bank of Kigali, women entrepreneurs are better in terms of credit default than men. But having all these data put together is going to give us evidence that at a macro level, there's evidence that we can design more flexible products for women because they pay well. Now, to your second question, Iachu, on what we, as Bank of Kigali, intend to bring to the table, we are everywhere. We are in the communities. We have over close to 70 branches across the country. We have over 3,000 agents across the country. and providing, again, meaningful financial services, it's also about proximity. You need to be there in the community because, and we know that many of these women are not brave enough to just pick their phone and try to apply for a financial service. They want to have that human interaction. And I believe, as much as we all want to move to digital, I believe we still have, maybe probably a decade where we will need these financial, human interactions for us to be able to be closer to people, advise them, and help them grow. So this is what we bring to the table, the proximity. And we also bring leadership. And the First Lady put it very well. We have so many women leading banks. But even inside our organizations, at Bank of Kigali, over 55% of our staff are women. So how about we do the right thing? So we bring the leadership, we bring proximity, and we bring risk appetite, because we believe it's the right thing to do. It's going to help us grow our businesses and grow our businesses profitably. Thank you.
Very well said. Thank you very much. I'll really ponder on the risk appetite and now introduce Valence, because the private players with that risk appetite to finance women entrepreneurs, sometimes they don't believe the regulator would just go with them with that kind of risk appetite. What's your view, Valence?
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and everyone. Thanks for witnessing this historical moment of signing the We Finance Code. I'm from the central bank. I don't offer financial products. So I don't lend. So in my job, I had financial inclusion at the central bank. And the mandate that my boss gave me, when they hired me for this job, they told me, we want you to increase access to finance for women. Then the first question was, but we don't lend at the central bank, so how do I do it? So now, the goals of the We Finance Code, increasing financing to women businesses and enabling women to start businesses, grow businesses, innovate, create jobs, and reduce poverty, that goal is not new to Rwanda, and it's not new to the central bank or the financial sector. What the We Finance Code is bringing as value addition is on the how. How do we achieve this goal? And it answers my question when I was hired. How do I achieve this goal? It gives us value addition in terms of three things, and I will emphasize three things that Diane said. Collaboration. Me being a regulator that doesn't offer financial products, and my KPI is around increasing access to finance for women, there is no way I can achieve it without the financial service providers. So actually, the signing ceremony here that you saw this morning, oh my God, that's going to help me to achieve my KPI. So collaboration is very key. Now, in my job, I've been engaging different ecosystem players, the financial service providers, the government institutions, and everyone has got things, one or two things they are doing to increase the financing of women businesses. But the challenge is they have been doing these things on a solo basis. Now, when you do your own things on a solo basis, the impact is not that big. The impact is much bigger when you work together. I'll give an example. Where I sit at a central bank, there are things that I think Diane or Pichet could be doing to increase the financing of women. And where they sit, they think there are things that the regulator should be doing or the government should be doing to de-risk. I know they like the word de-risking. I'm surprised you didn't mention de-risking. So there are things that they say that there should be some de-risking mechanism done by the government, by the regulator, by the ecosystem players, development partners, to unlock financing to women businesses. And these questions, we ask them in our boardrooms. I think that person should be doing this. I also think that person should be doing. How about we create a coalition where we can address these issues together, end to end, commit together, commit to a set of actions together, be accountable to each other, set targets and achieve targets. Now, when we were introduced to this We Finance Code, the first meeting we had with Alliance and the World Bank, that's the very addition that we got. Actually, we never gave it a second thought when they gave us this solution of collaboration. So, number two, the We Finance Code emphasizes on being data-driven. And Diane, you said this. I have heard this narrative that women businesses are so risky. I've heard it many times. And the question I ask is this narrative based on data and research? And the answer I've received is that it's just a narrative. I had this women business risky, and then I have to ask for higher collateral, and that is it. But the international studies, for example, the McKinsey report that was quoted a few minutes ago, indicates actually women businesses are less risky compared to men-owned businesses. Actually, they tend to be more innovative. Now, what the We Finance Code is saying, we need to be data-driven. Can we use data? First of all, let's define data. What's a woman-owned business? Is it by shareholding? I mean, it's a company of 10 people, 5 women, or 4 women, and 6 men. Is that a woman-owned business? Can we define a woman-owned business in our context? And then can we collect this data at institutional level, but also at a country level, and use it to understand what women need and design products based on their needs? Because one thing I realized is that, either we don't understand what women need, or they don't understand what we offer. And either way, we have a mission, something to work on. So being data-driven. Number 3, and my last point, is the We Finance Code is emphasizing on being intentional. The central bank, the primary mission of the central bank has always been stability, price stability and financial stability. And you have prudential requirements. If Diane doesn't meet the capital requirement, then she's in trouble. Actually, have pecuniary sanctions and fines. But the issues of financial inclusion, increasing access to finance for women, it's a gentleman's or woman's discussion. Please, can you try to achieve this? There is no sanction, there is no fine on that. But what we witnessed today, people stood here and made commitments on what they are going to do. So that commitment is very important. So 3 things: collaboration, being data-driven, and number 3, being intentional. And now, what are we going to do as central bank? We're already starting. The fact that we are here is a milestone achieved. As Governor said, he started in a boardroom a conversation between the Alliance and the World and Central Bank on the We Finance Code. So we started off coordination. We saw the idea of the financial service providers. They liked the idea. So our role is really going to be coordination to ensure that this is going to be a living coalition. You can sign commitments here and then you take pictures and you're done. But our commitments make this a living coalition that sets commitments, determines to a set of actions, and is able to evaluate the achievements over time. So that's coordination. Number 2, we're not going to stop on coordination. There are things we can do within the scope of what we can do. I'm not going to promise that I'm going to lend when the central bank doesn't lend. But what I'm going to promise is that I'm going to do financial education, and indeed I've started. There's a project that is championed by our governor on increasing the usage of mobile money among women. We realized that using FinScope 2020 that there are many women that have mobile phones but don't know that actually mobile money exists. They can open an account, a transaction account. Before you get a loan, the first entry to working with a financial institution, you need to have a transaction account. And a transaction account today, you can open a wallet using your phone. There are many women across the country with mobile phones, but not knowing actually there is mobile money. They can open an account called mobile money wallet. So we've been deploying our teams in 4 districts across the country. And you know what? We've enabled 5,800 women who are onboarded on mobile money, and now they're using mobile money in just 4 districts. And the plan is to scale to all districts in the country. So those are a few things that we'll be doing. Thank you, Bosco.
Thank you very much, Valence. Looks like the regulator is well aligned for the cause, which is good news to the players in the room. And for the few minutes that remain, I just wanted to challenge you a bit here. So as development partners, we have been supporting this cause. And one of the challenges that have been highlighted was collateral for women entrepreneurs. There are so many guarantees in the market that are targeting women entrepreneurs. Some give up to 70%, others 95%. So if, we know there are really negative social and cultural norms still in some of the members of the society. And when a woman entrepreneur wants to take a loan from a financial institution, because of the power relations, some of the men really don't allow that collateral to go, yet there's a co-ownership. So what we are saying, clearly, because those guarantees are available, you have a way to provide that loan, if such instances happen. So that is given, and I really applaud all the development partners for allowing that and providing funding for that. Now, the second one that the development community is doing is actually to build capacity of the financial sector to understand the needs of women entrepreneurs. Even providing some grants for innovation around data, technology, and so on. I just wanted to challenge Diane, and probably Pichette is closer also to the financial sector. What else should we do, just one thing or two, so that you are well supported to provide capital to these women?
I'm hoping my colleagues will feel that I represent them well. I think you've done your part. I think we need not only to put things in writing and have all these products, somewhere, on our laptops, on our documents in our offices. We need to do more in reaching out to women in business and explaining them what is available. And that's something most banks have not done enough, especially when it comes to women, because you're already very busy with clients coming your way, applying for facilities. So what we need to do more is to, reach out to the communities. And I'm seeing some women in finance, in business, in the audience. I see the chairperson of our private sector federation, Jeanne-Françoise, and others. I think we need to build that network of women in business that encourages people to talk to banks, because the products are there. We've been developing them, we've been designing them for some time, but the uptake has not been good. And we need to look it both ways. We are not doing enough to reach out to women to raise awareness around products that are available, but they're also not forthcoming in bringing their business plans to banks, because there's still this perception that probably my project is not bankable. So we really need to, both ways, to work together to be sure we understand each other, and we break the ice between banks and the women in business. I really believe very much in mentorship, and I think Pichette and I have been part of a group of women leaders who are mentoring young girls. At the beginning, I was not very sure how to go about this, but I see these girls, growing in confidence, and I feel maybe, the time we are spending together is really helping them. And I think we can do something similar in women in business. Get all these people together. You have small companies, larger companies. I think get these women to speak, to interact, to engage is really going to help us grow confidence in these women, for them to reach out to banks and get access to financing. So, yes, you've done your part. Please let us do our part. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pichette, just 1 minute.
Sure. We need to create bridges between products. At the moment, we're talking about the banking sector, probably biased because we're two bankers, but there are other products that are needed that women absolutely need to have access to if we want them to thrive. At the moment, we've seen through the FinScope that most of the access to finance for women is actually through what we call non-bank formal institutions, which is the mobile money, insurance, pension. And it is time that we create bridges between the banking services and these other services that will be key. Most of you here have a credit card. You don't know that you have insurance for your credit card. You probably don't care until you have a problem. So we need to start creating these linkages where women have access to microinsurance, women have access to pension. We know we outlive men in very many cases, Women have to have access to equity, and we know women are more open, actually, to have their business open to equity than they are to have them ask for loans. So we're more open to equity than we are to credit. I think it's the way we look at flow of money. And the last one is women have been the foundation of what we call in Rwanda ibimina, which is the informal saving schemes. And I think it's time that we create a bridge between these informal saving schemes and the formal banking sector, and find a way to create ways of pushing in liquidity from, and when I say banking, I'm looking at micro financial institutions and SACCOs, and create links between our SACCOs and our MFIs, and these ibimina that are considered largely informal. So mine would be, how do we create bridges and connect these services that will be key for a woman entrepreneur at different stages of their lives?
Where do we want to see women entrepreneurs in the next 5, 10 years? Kind of blue sky vision. Just a few seconds.
Of course, I want more financing to women businesses. I want to see more businesses, women-owned businesses starting, not only starting, but growing, innovating, creating jobs. That's where I want us to go.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, maybe let me stop there.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Tony?
I think what we all want is to see women empowered by the ecosystem. And my vision really is simple, is for Rwanda to really lean into this role as a champion and become the gold standard for these things. You know, Rwanda may not be the biggest market on the continent, but when things work here, the world is watching, as we can see today. And so, you know, I don't have to convince you, Yachu, that you have all the elements here. You have the innovators, the banks that are committed. You have a regulator that cares about this topic. So, you know, show us what's possible. Show the world what's possible when it comes to moving women from, you know, basic financial inclusion to productive use of digital services. What a regulator can do with real-time gender disaggregated data. Show us how a gender bond can make a profit and make an impact at the same time. I think these are the things that we would love to see and that would make a big difference for entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much. Yes, Diane.
So I was thinking about what to say, and I feel that I would like us to be in a position where we can say, you know, have also GDP, gender disaggregated data, so able to say this is the contribution of women in our economy.
Yeah.
And in the next 5 or 10 years, I want to be able to say, this is where we were in 2025 when we all signed this code, and we have brought the contribution of women to the Rwandan economy to what, 30, 40% in the next 5 years. I think that would be a great outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Pichette, yeah.
I think change happens in Rwanda at super speed. 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we had 0 women CEO in the banking sector. So my hope is that in 10 years, we don't have to have a conference about women access to finance, because we're all accessing finance.
Excellent, excellent. That's a way to close this panel.
Amazing insights are being shared, and we can see the leadership and, most importantly, the intentionality in driving financial inclusion for women.